गिरीश जी नमस्कार। स्वागत है आपका एक बार फिर चैनल पे। और आज बात करेंगे यूएस इकोनॉमी के बारे में और अभी जो वहाँ पे डेब्ट क्राइसिस चल रहा है, सेल्फ इम्पोज्ड डेब्ट क्राइसिस, कुछ और नाम भी आप उसको दे सकते हैं, उसके बारे में भी आप बताएं। लेकिन उससे पहले थोड़ा सा मैं ये चाहूँगा कि आप उनका जो अपर हाउस लोअर हाउस उसकी क्या कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी है, कौन सी पार्टी पावर में है और क्या वो एज ए ओपोजिशन पार्टी रिपब्लिकन्स क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट कर सकते हैं और उनका इस डेब्ट क्राइसिस में क्या हाथ है।
नमस्कार नमस्कार बीरेन जी। Actually, US democracy is slightly different from Indian democratic system, which we are known or we are working in India. Few of the changes are there. They are having a government for 4 years. Every leap year there is election, and the president-driven government is having the running show. Like here in India, we are having a prime minister is running the show. There, the president is running the show. Second important thing is there are no concept of midterm election in US. Whereas in India, we are having a majority government is only can work. So if suppose any financial bill which is not cleared in parliament or they lost in parliament, automatically government in India loses confidence and there are either new government will be formed or there will be an election. So these are the two basic difference. So this gives an stability in US because they are not worried about midterm election and they can go ahead with their um, uh, points which they have discussed or promised to their voters, and then in between they do not have to worry that what will happen if their supporters or their numbers in parliament reduces.
जैसे मैं स्पेशली जो इंडिया में लोग रहते हैं हमारे जैसे, जैसे उनका जो लोअर हाउस है, जैसे हमारे यहाँ लोकसभा है, उनका लोअर हाउस को दे कॉल इट हाउस ऑफ रिप्रेजेंटेटिव। ओके, हाउस ऑफ रिप्रेजेंटेटिव में बेसिकली आजकल रिपब्लिकन्स की मेजोरिटी है, चाहे वो थिन मेजोरिटी ही सही। अपर हाउस को सीनेट बोलते हैं और सीनेट में एक्चुअली डेमोक्रेट्स की ब्रिटेन जो है बेसिकली डेमोक्रेट है, उनकी मेजोरिटी है। ओवरऑल डेमोक्रेट्स के पास एक थिन मेजोरिटी है, बहुत ही थिन। Am I right to understand that?
Correct. I was coming to that point.
Okay.
Like in India, we are having an election for, I'm talking of Lok Sabha, I'm not talking of state election, which goes
in a House of Representative. Yeah.
House of Representative. Like in India, we are having a upper house, lower house. The same way they do have the same thing. But like in India, Lok Sabha elections are happening once, and then that is what Prime Minister or cabinet or the government got elected. But there they do have a midterm, means after 2 years there is election also, part of the seats. So that makes the difference. Suppose in 24, party A wins the election and at the same time there will be an election in the lower house also. But part of the seat will also get sometime after 2 years. So that's the reason you find the difference between what was the situation in 2020 and now 22, there is a slight difference. And when this Republicans get some more say than what was earlier in 2020, and by 24 again the situation can change. So this is the difference from Indian politics, and that's the reason there they find it whenever president is of a party, let's say Republican or Democrat, and the Senate or the house is controlled by the opposition party. So this kind of situations arises quite often. It's not new. That's the reason there they're having. I'll just come to the issue which is there, that is the debt ceiling or debt limit. Now, how does it is there and how it is different from the normal budget? Like as a government, president of US submit the budget every year and Congress has to pass it with or without amendments. Now, it is not an option that they can reject it and then no, it can come and they can put some condition, but president is not bound by those conditions. He can accept many of them, but may not accept all. So it's a sort of a budget which he's having every year, and how that is the case where they are having some sort of a, you can say, budget is having certain expenses, certain revenues, and the differences, deficiency or whatever is there, it carries forward year to year and during their tenure when president is continuing in power for 4 years or his deputies comes in between. There are certain cases when the deputy also joins in.
Okay.
So this is one part. Now there is also amendment. This is also law which the debt limit of the federal, means central government, is set by the Congress. Now this is different from the budget, as I said. Now this
Okay.
debt limit giving the power to the Congress, where president is not having a vetoing power. Now you will say, what is the budget and what is this thing? So what is the debt ceiling or debt limit? So now the debt ceiling or debt limit is fixed by the Congress. It is different from the budget. As I said, budget is having a control by the president of the nation, but the debt ceiling or debt limit is controlled by the Congress. Now, as long as the same party is ruling, hardly there are any such differences. But whenever there are difference, this kind of situation arise. Now, what is the debt ceiling or debt limit? It is the authority to Federal Reserve, federal government, to borrow money from the US Treasury to carry out their uh, program, which is many activities are there and there's are limits. So now earlier what was happening, every year it was getting approved. But in 1917, I think World War One time, this thing was observed that this will create a lot of problem because US is also indirectly supporting, and then it was coming up as a superpower in the world. So they have said instead of going yearly, they will set a limit, and as and when situation arises, then Congress will amend those limit. It can up or down depending upon the situation. So from 1917 onward, this situation was from yearly to become a limit. So it was, we have not seen this limit is discussing in 22 or 21 because it was not an yearly uh, figure or yearly approval process from the Congress. Now, since 1960 to now, more than 78 times this ceilings has been changed, or mostly it is
Increased.
increased.
Okay.
Now, out of 78 times, 49 times it is a Republican president was in power, and 29 times Democrat president is in power or was in power. We can call it this situation. So this also shows that how the politics plays a power play there, not in a budget time, but when the debt limit is coming. So this is a situation where US president has to be very careful when he's finding that his party is not in power, means in majority, let
In
us put it.
majority.
And then some of the popular measure or the popular policies of the government is getting impacted because the opposition parties try to curtail those policies which can impact election results. So it is having a sort of a, though it is economic, but having some politics behind it. Now, as of now, today, as when we are talking, it is $31.48 trillion is the debt limit, which is set by the Congress earlier. Now, as per the estimate, which is, finance secretary there, she's telling that by June 1st, they may hit this ceiling.
Okay.
So this is the situation. What will happen if that ceiling is breached or ceiling is not uplifted by the Congress before that? So as we are telling, this 1st June is a very critical date. The estimate is that by June, government may breach that ceiling limit. Now, what will happen if it happens and how it impact the world? Let's understand this is the major issue, why everybody should be worried if something happens in US. So let's understand, out of this total debt limit of say $31.78 trillion, approximately 30% is the debt which is held by the world outside US. Now you will say, what is this debt of the which is other countries are having? As we discussed in one of our earlier video, that US dollar is the world reserve currency or world currency, which most of the nations use as a day to exchange of their export import and keeping some amount in their reserve to meet their obligation as and when required. So it is around 30% is worldwide it is being held. So if that is the situation, then it will have a theoretically impact on those reservoirs. So out of 100% debt limit, 30% is owned by the other than US national or
other than
other
US.
than.
Ah,
It
that
is
is
a
quite
very, very,
interesting. Yeah.
very important point. Now, who's having the maximum? It is Japan, which is having around $1.1 trillion.
Okay.
Then China, $0.87 trillion. Then UK. Now you will say ki how UK, because UK, it's pound, it's a very powerful currency, but still they hold around $0.56 trillion. And
Okay.
Belgium, Luxembourg, and like India, which is having $0.3 trillion. So there are many countries who are having this kind of a reserve, which will be a thing. Now, it is not every currency which China, Japan, India is having in dollar bills. It is in treasury bonds, treasury, bills, which is issued by the Federal Reserve. So it is a paper. Now, until unless those papers are honored by the federal government, it value is, you can understand. But so far, since inception, it has never been, you can say, dishonored. So we need not to worry from that aspect ki, okay, something, these things has happened and then it is likely to happen. I'm not telling that it is going to happen, but it is a theoretical case. One cannot rule out. So that's why there is a one statement. There is no corner in the world which will not be impacted by the debt ceiling impact if US is breaching that. So it is not
Okay.
only US, entire world will face.
Okay.
Now, another point which we have to understand how it is going to impact US nationally as well as internationally, which is nowadays, well, as we have discussed already, what is the debt limit, what is the US system, what is how it is different from budget and other thing. The main point is how this debt limit will impact is the social security system of the US, which is one of the highest, and best, considered to be best, where they are giving social security to all their people. Second thing is the medical benefit. Third thing is the military investment, military exposure. Now we know worldwide where US Army and Defense Forces are deployed and other things. So it will have an impact on that. And then it is also the interest they are paying on the US debt. So, which is also coming out because, as I said, 30% is debt held by the outside US. So, and even individuals who are holding US accounts and I think their interest is to be paid by the Fed. So, these are the major impact. And also US contribution in the international institution, whether it is UN, whether it is IMF, whether it is WHO, and all those places. So, these are the things. So, it is very, very critical from US point of view. Some estimates says that if it is theoretically, I'm talking, I should not say that people should jump and then worry about immediately after seeing such videos, many other news, that it can have an impact of US may lose around 1.5 million job, even if it is not limit is crossed for a week or so, and the number can go up to 8 million people may lose job if it is continuing for a few months. So this is, one can say, the unemployment rate, which is around 4%, can go up to 8%.
Okay.
One is that US economy will shrink, and if US economy go into recession and shrink, it will, impact entire world, whether it is China, whether it is India, whether it is Europe, whether it is Southeast Asia, Japan, any country whosoever having a export to China or to US will have an impact. So this is one of the thing. And there is uh, somebody is also telling if these things continue, the number can be $10 trillion from the equity market may be wiped out, because if it is having an impact, it will have an impact in the world market, and that can wipe out $10 trillion worth of equity from the public, whether it is in US or outside. So it's a major threat, not only in US but outside. But chances are there that, like earlier, this thing can be handled amicably by President Joe Biden and Republican, and they may accept some of the points, and this situation can be averted.
जो CNN का जो एनालिस्ट है एक स्टीफन कॉलिसन, मैं उसका एक स्टेटमेंट पढ़ देता हूं दर्शकों के लिए, जो बेसिकली एक समराइज कर देगा जो आपने कहा है एक्चुअली. America is heading close to the brink of self-imposed economic disaster with the Republicans-led House refusing to pay the country debts unless President Joe Biden agrees to cuts on the current and future spending and new curbs on social program. आपने भी यही बात कही कि सोशल प्रोग्राम पे अच्छा खासा एक्सपेंडिचर होता है. नाउ द पॉइंट विच आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज, मैंने तो कभी नहीं सुना, फॉर एग्जांपल जैसे इंडिया में होता है कि आप यहाँ पे जो फ्री बाइज का और वो सब जो कंसेप्ट है, मतलब जो एक रेगुलेटेड सोशल सिक्योरिटी प्रोग्राम है वो तो एक बात है, और एक अनरेगुलेटेड जो फ्री बाइज का सिस्टम है, मैंने तो कभी नहीं सुना कि ऑपोजिशन गवर्नमेंट को बोले कि आप कम इस तरह का करो, इस वेस्टफुल एक्सपेंडिचर कम करो या खर्चा कम करो जिससे सीलिंग नीचे आए. और दूसरा एक पक्ष भी इसका है कि ये सब तो एक्चुअली अप्रूव्ड प्रोग्राम है, बट ऑफ कोर्स रिपब्लिकन्स तो ये कह रहे हैं कि इन्होंने जो स्पेंडिंग की है बिडेन ने इस पे के जो 2 इयर्स हैं अनरेगुलेटेड की, जरूरत से ज्यादा की. जो डेमोक्रेट्स हैं वो ये कह रहे हैं कि जो रिपब्लिकन्स हैं वो बेसिकली बिडेन को प्रॉब्लम में डालना चाह रहे हैं, और उस वजह से यूएसए को भी वो प्रॉब्लम में डाल देंगे अगर ये जो नेगोशिएशंस हैं डेप्थ सीलिंग बढ़ाने के, ये कंप्लीट नहीं होते बाय जून 1. तो योर कमेंट ऑन दिस.
It's a very well point. Is as we said in the very beginning, it is more of a political. Now, we have seen in all over democracies, public are used to certain kind of a comfort from the government. Now, as and when, if any government fails to continue or increase those welfare means, the running government or the government which are in power, they loses the power. So this is the same thing is happening here also. So it is a more of a politics where the opposition parties are trying to corner the incumbent president, and president is trying to not only continue but improve those welfare means so that they can come back into the power. So it is, as I said, more of a political. So what CNN representative said is very well. It is internal political tussle where one party trying to put other, say, Democrat into corner, whereas the Democrats are trying to continue with this. As I said, next year there is election. So this is the toughest time. It is not happening first time. It has happened almost every time whenever this situation arises, when the incumbent president loses the majority in the Congress and the opposition tries to put president into problem, whether it is Barack Obama or earlier Bush and others. So it is likewise, but now they have reached to that limit very, very close. So that's why people are talking. But I still am hopeful that it will not happen, that which will put entire world into problem.
तो गिरीश जी, थैंक यू सो मच. आई थिंक यू हैव ऑलरेडी क्लेरिफाइड द सिचुएशन, और एक जो इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट आपने क्लेरिफाई किया मैं उसको रिट्रेट कर देता हूं बेसिकली, कि जो इट इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द बजट. बजट के केस में प्रेसिडेंट इज नॉट बाउंड बाय द कांग्रेस, ही कैन ओवर रूल इट, that is the situation. But as far as this debt ceiling is concerned, president has to negotiate with the congress. कांग्रेस में जो भी, चाहे रिपब्लिकन्स हो चाहे डेमोक्रेट हो, उनकी जो लिमिट जो भी वो सेट करेंगे उसको निगोशिएट करना पड़ेगा. और मेरे ख्याल से बिडेन अभी जो जापान गए थे तो थोड़ा पहले वापस आए वो इसी निगोशिएशंस को कंक्लूड करने के लिए. और जो स्पीकर है केविन मैकार्थी, he is also trying to moderate the discussions between the Democrats, that is president, and the Republicans. Of course जो रिपब्लिकन्स हैं सबको पता है कि वो ट्रंप का भी इन्फ्लुएंस वहां पे अच्छा खासा है, बट नेवरदलेस वी एक्सपेक्ट दैट these negotiations they will conclude and the economic disaster will be avoided. Am I right to understand that point, Girish ji?
Yes, sir, very well. It's very well, sir, said. You have very well summarized it. And as I said, it is a more of a political. None of the party would like that US or anybody should go into that situation where it will be very, very difficult. So hopefully, after tough negotiation, they will reach to a settlement and this situation will be aborted.
So, Girish ji, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to interact with you. Thank you. Thank you. I think most of the points have been clarified by Girish ji, summarized properly. I'm sure it is going to be beneficial to the viewers. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in next video. लेकिन मेरी आपसे रिक्वेस्ट वही रहेगी कि प्लीज लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब. Thank you once again.